Hello, everyone. Just now tuning in for Astro Insights Live. I'm going to give this a minute or so to see who wants to hop on and say hello. I am Mel Rose, your Astro Insights guide for Rose Tarot Astrology. Welcome to Astro Insights. After we do a little conversation about today's astrology insights for the coming weeks, we're also going to do a tarot card reading for the coming week. So welcome for that as well. That'll be after I discuss the astrology, which I'll start doing in just a couple of minutes. Welcome, everybody. Also, we've got the chat posted right up here live for everybody to see. So if you want to say something to me, if you want to uh, interject during this during this broadcast, I may or may not see it, but I always welcome your interactions as well. Okay. We've been here for about a minute. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, friends, to Astro Insights Live. I'm Mel Rose of Rose Tarot and Astrology, and this is our Sunday morning broadcast just to give us all a little bit of a preview of the coming week in astrology. As you know, as above, so below, we look to the stars and the way the planets move across the backdrop of the stars to give us some information, hopefully, about what's going on in the world around us so that we have that information to better navigate our own lives. And, this is a tradition that goes back thousands, if not a million years in humanity. So we are standing on the shoulders of giants as we read these signs and take from it what we can. Thank you so much for being here with me on this journey. Thank you for joining me, and let's get into the coming week's astrology. Now, generally, I like to do a review of the last week's astrology, and what I can say is that Mercury figured pretty heavily in this past week. There was a sign around Wednesday for overdoing it, especially when it came to our plans or our communications, the things that we're verbally committing to. And there was some tension around Friday, which came up for us. Actually, we had some problem solving to do on Friday. We drove down to Northwest Arkansas to do a tarot reading gig that we do every year, and we set ourselves up a hotel room, and we were going to check into the hotel room right before we were going to check into the hotel room before we went to the gig. And what happened was we got down there, and there's this great big festival down there called Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue. And I think that the hotel had just decided that they weren't going to take any of the discounted customers because, of course, we went and looked and got a discount on our room, and they canceled our reservation, and we didn't know about it until we got there. And so it was pretty frustrating, and we weren't sure if we were going to be able to get another hotel room with the place being so crowded with this big festival going on. But we actually did, and it worked out just fine. But that was Friday, plans, Mercury in opposition with problem solving. So there was a little bit of conflict, a little problem solving to come up there. I wonder if y'all had any problems you had to solve this weekend. Saturday, also, we had a little bit of having to adjust our plans to what's practical. And that's what brings me to today, which is Sunday the 5th. The moon is in Pisces, the sun is in Libra, and this coming week, with that vibration yesterday of adjusting our plans to what is practical, with this coming week, we also have a lot of signatures that say, hey, let's focus on what it is practical for us to take care of at this time. sort of regardless of what we desire, maybe in spite of what we desire, maybe because of what we desire. But it's a time, like at the end of the week, we're really going to have a conversation with ourselves about what we want versus what is practical, and we're going to have to meet ourselves at least halfway in order to find that balance, right? Okay, so this week is for doing what is practical. Next week, not this coming week, but the next week after that will be for doing what is fair. And we'll talk about that when we get there. Today is Sunday, October 5, 2025. Thank you. Welcome to Astro Insights Live. And tomorrow is the full moon in Aries. It's the first full moon in Aries after the fall. It's always the first full moon after the fall equinox every year. Okay, so this full moon, all full moons are a time of culmination, and Aries is a sign of power and initiative. So here we are at another tipping point, going from that Pisces end of the zodiac, clicking over into Aries. Final harvest is around the corner. The northern hemisphere is growing colder. The nights are noticeably longer. The days are noticeably shorter. And Mercury tomorrow is going to start helping us feel that too, because Mercury moves on into Scorpio tomorrow. Okay, it's running ahead of the sun right now because the sun's still in Libra, but Mercury's moving on into Scorpio. It's sort of broadcasting messages to us from the near future in that Scorpio way of broadcasting it through the way things feel. So here are some messages from the near future. Scorpio says, remember that death is only a shadow, and so is winter. If you live in the northern hemisphere, winter time can look like the entire planet did die. It can look pretty bleak, pretty barren. But really, it's just a few months, and we come out of it on the other side, and there is more life, and that is the whole message of Scorpio. So the other part of that message is, because we're going into this winter time, this cold season, we want to create a safe and comfortable environment for ourselves and for our loved ones, and to do the things that we mean to do for the coming months. All right. This for the first part of this week. So Mercury just moves into Mercury moves on into Scorpio just as we're having that full moon in Aries. That's really pretty potent stuff because the full moon in Aries is the moon opposite the sun in Libra. So it's that Aries and Libra dichotomy between, taking care of ourselves versus, being engaged in our partnerships. There's a balance that has to be struck there. And there's also, just that classic, like, am I going to do this on my own? Am I going to go my own way, or am I going to collaborate? Am I going to work with other people to get this thing done that I need to get done? So uh, that's sort of the Aries and Libra dichotomy, and then you bring Scorpio in, and Scorpio and Aries have Mars in common because they're both ruled by Mars. So there's an assertiveness here. There's Mars is in Scorpio right now. Now Mercury's in Scorpio with Mars. Mars is in its rulership, and so the action that we're taking, the new starts that we're experiencing with this Aries new moon, the new inspiration that we're feeling with this Aries new moon is going to be colored with that Scorpio sense of, okay, let's have a strategy. Okay, let's make sure we're making safe moves. Let's make sure we're not broadcasting our moves necessarily. Let's make sure that we're getting our plan together and moving as quickly and quietly and stealthily as possible. Not that we're trying to deceive anybody, but just that we want to make our moves without broadcasting them. That is Mars and Scorpio. So uh, create a safe and comfortable environment for yourself for the coming weeks and for the coming week. And like I said, the first part of this week, Mercury is going to interact with all of those outer planets that are currently in the early degrees of their signs. That's Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. And these are uncomfortable aspects. Okay, we're gonna experience Monday and Tuesday, especially some having to adjust our plans or the conversations that we wanted to have in light of new information. And on Tuesday, Mercury squares Pluto, and it really is going to I have a feeling it's gonna have a lot of us asking, "Do I wanna call a permanent end to the situation? How committed am I to being in this situation, and can I just call it off at this point?" Not that there won't be drama, not that there won't be fallout, okay? There will be drama and fallout, possibly, potentially, depending on how dramatic you and the other people involved plan to make it, right? But if you wanna call an end to something, this Tuesday will really have you feeling that, and it might be the choice time to communicate that ending. The second part of this week is brought to us by the planet Venus, our lover. On Wednesday, Venus cooperates with Jupiter, and it's a real good fortune signature, friends. Venus in Virgo and Jupiter in Cancer. Venus in Virgo, very particular, very, showing love and kindness through acts of service, very interested in what is wholesome, interested in taking care of the minor details because that's what provides a more comfortable experience overall. And Jupiter in Cancer is really a good fortune sign. The whole year that Jupiter is in Cancer, we really are, look where Cancer is in your astrology chart because Jupiter in Cancer is good fortune for us in those parts of our lives. So Venus, Virgo, Jupiter in Cancer, they're having a very cooperative, easy time. They're making things happen. Good things are being generated out of the actions that we take. Venus around what it is that we desire, and Jupiter about where we want to find ourselves, having good fortune, getting lucky. Okay, so um, this offers us up an opportunity to go big, all right, in romance, in friendship, in connecting with other people. It also offers an opportunity to go big with your finances, or it gives a little encouragement to go big with your finances. Be careful not to overdo it on that one, okay? Show up for the things that you would like to see yourself getting lucky over, definitely, okay? Show up in the place where you want to have good fortune, whether that be about connecting with people or whether that be about getting the stuff and things you need, or the recognition or the compensation that you need. Okay, show up for the stuff that you want to receive. Thursday, Venus has us adjusting our tractor beams to help us solve some problems or address a health challenge. And, I want to say I had a health challenge come up recently, and it turned out to be environmental for where I was. So I want you to be paying attention to that, right? I want you to be paying attention to, even, it's the changing of the season. Sometimes we get the sniffles and we think, oh, it's just the sniffles. But friends, we have a number of viruses out there that are traveling around. And as the weather gets colder, more people suffer from those viruses as we're enclosing ourselves in spaces with others, right? So be aware of the sniffles, be aware of the odd, not so well feeling either up here or, in your gut area or wherever it is that you might not be feeling well. Address the health challenge, rise to the health challenge, right? Make sure, if you got a toothache, go see the dentist. If you've got a bellyache, address it. And that's Thursday. It's just an adjustment to make. Like, oh, well, I thought I was not going to have this problem so that I could take care of this, but now I see I have this problem, so I might have to adjust and take care of this problem first. And then on Saturday is really, to me, the other big day of this week, because Monday we've got that full moon in Aries, and that's always a day to celebrate. It's culmination. It's a culmination of power. It's a culmination of self-direction. And then on Saturday, Venus is going to oppose Saturn. So here is where the power of that self-direction comes in, okay? Because it's bound to show us where we are out of balance uh, in practical ways. Okay, so we're encouraged right now to take practical actions to bring that balance back, whether that's to pay an outstanding bill, or to catch up on your chores, to take care of some maintenance, or make lunch for your sweetheart, or make lunch for yourself. A little self-care is called for. All of these things are practical, but we're talking about practical. We're talking about maintaining our bodies, our personal well-being, and the structures and networks that keep us whole and supported. Okay, this everyday mundane stuff is going to rule the day on Saturday, especially because Venus is in Virgo and Saturn is in Pisces. Okay, and Virgo is our south node right now, and Pisces is our north node. So definitely, when it's if it comes down to a conflict between Venus, what I want, and Saturn, what's practical, the north node is where Saturn is. We want to go toward what's practical. Okay, and that doesn't mean completely negate what it is that you need to get from the situation. Saturn is going to help you, set some expectations. Saturn is going to help you maybe create some boundaries around how these practical things happen. But we're going to move in the direction of what's practical, and probably have to adjust how we feel about what we want as we go forward from there. Okay, so that's it. This week is for doing what's practical, friends. The moon will be waning all week after that full moon in Aries. And so after the moon is full, we spend a week of basically sort of reflecting on how the past few weeks have gone for us, and deciding what went well, what could go better, how are we going to turn around and make our next effort with things going better, having jettisoned some of the old stuff. So the week is a sort of a week of reflection, but it's also just a week of a powerful beginning. And I really hope that with the full moon tomorrow in Aries, that you I would use, in fact, I plan to use that full moon as a meditation on like what my personal power is and how I can use it to make a more practical difference in my own life. Right. So next week, not this coming week, but the next week, Pluto goes direct, Venus moves on into Libra, and Mercury meets up with Mars in Scorpio. So remember, this week is for doing what's practical. Next week is for doing what's fair. Okay, friends, thank you so much for tuning in for Astro Insights. And I'm not done here because I've got to go ahead and do a tarot card reading. I'm going to stop and take a drink. Go big. Go big. Definitely coming up on this Wednesday, it is really an opportunity where if you want to go big, if you want to make a bigger plan, if you want to make a bigger investment in something, if you want to do something really incredibly optimistic, that's the day to do it. Jennifer this morning was saying, okay, so I have about a week to manifest a great big egg. I was like, yes, please manifest a big egg. So that this is your time to be working on that, and especially with Venus about to oppose Saturn, and we've got that opportunistic thing happening on Wednesday with Venus and Jupiter. I would say go big in the direction of what is practical for building something very supportive in your life. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and get into the tarot card reading. I want to stop for a moment and just say hello to my bestie Jill. If she watches this, she usually watches this, and she wound up in the hospital this week, and so I just want to let her know that I'm sending out all of my heart and my love and my light for your quick recovery, but not just your quick recovery, your wholesome and complete recovery. Okay, my friend. Um, I love you, and I know that it's a challenging time to go through, and my heart is right there with you. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and get into this tarot card reading, and I want to do a tarot card reading for. Uh, what do I want to do this? Yes, for Mercury in Scorpio, and then for Venus, because Venus is doing all of the rest of the action this week. Okay, Venus, which is in Virgo. So Mercury in Scorpio. This is a great time, by the way, for my spouse Jennifer, because she is a Libra sun and she has her Mercury in Scorpio and she has her Venus in Virgo. So she's really feeling herself right now, folks. She's really coming into her own. When we are around our sun sign, that time of the year, then we do tend to feel more powerful and more like ourselves because the vibrations around us are like they were similar to what they were when we were born, when we came into the world and started having experiences. So it's the most sort of familiar feeling, the most sort of easy vibration for us to work with. And so happy birthday to all of you Libras out there. The Mercury doesn't fall far from the Saturn from the sun, and neither does Venus. So if you have a Sun in Libra, then you probably have a Mercury in Virgo or Libra or Scorpio. And you probably have a Venus in Virgo or Libra or Scorpio, although it might be one more sign out. But it's really, they're gathered that close together. They don't travel very far from each other. So a Sun in Libra is not just a Sun in Libra, it's a Sun in Libra and Mercury is close by and Venus is close by. The heart and mind are never very far from who we are, right? Okay. And that's just the meandering of my mind as I get ready for this tarot card reading. So Mercury in Scorpio is a time when we become a little strategic with our planning and our thoughts. Mercury is going to join up with Mars in Scorpio at the end of next week, and that's going to be a little bit of a challenging vibe just because it'll be intense, like those energies are combined under pressure. And Scorpio energy is kind of intense anyway. Think of it, it's like fixed water. It's like water under pressure. It's intense. Okay, so there's an intense emotionality a little bit to what's coming up in our thoughts and plans and communications. There's definitely a deep well of intuitiveness to draw on while Mercury is in Scorpio, and really guiding us to talk about those Scorpio kind of functions and values, right? Scorpio is kind of the liminal space. It's about the beginnings and endings. It's about, death and the life that comes after it. It's about walking through a threshold into a new life. So, and it's appropriate because Scorpio is right here at the threshold of winter time, uh, uh, with of fall going into winter. Anyway, Mercury in Scorpio. Let's draw a card for it. Mercury in Scorpio, our card is the Three of Wands, friends. I used my golden cards, so they might be a little shiny. And the Three of Wands is like, yes, I have a goal in sight. So remember, Mars is in Scorpio right now. Mars is always after a goal, and Mars is being strategic right now. And that's what this card really, really tells me about. Is like, you can see your goal in sight. It's out of reach, but it's in sight, and you can look ahead and say, okay, between here and there, I can see these potential kinds of obstacles coming up, these potential kind of opportunities coming up. And then you can just sort of keep your eyes on the prize, keep your eyes on the road between you and that goal, and address the obstacles and the opportunities as they come up. Okay, so definitely there are a number of us right now that have a goal in sight, one way or the other. And we really just need to stay engaged in the unfolding of that larger goal. That's Mercury in Scorpio for you, okay? Just stay engaged, stay fixed on what you intuit, what you know to be true, what you know to be representative of you, authentic of you and the goals that you're trying to reach. And if you do that, then you're going to reach your goals. Yes, I love that. And then the next one I want to pull is for that Venus in Virgo, because Venus is making these kind of big aspects at the end of the week. Sextiling Jupiter on Wednesday, which is a good fortune vibe, but then opposing Saturn on Saturday, which is a little bit more of a conflicted vibe, a little more challenging, because it's about like, okay, you know what you want, and now you have to take care of what's practical. So try to want what's practical, really try to lean into, understanding why you want the things that are practical, because that takes a little bit more long-term thinking. And while Venus is in Virgo, Venus is very particular. It's very much about getting things sorted out, making sure everything is as it needs to be, so that we can use it, so we can have an easy, wholesome time so that we can be well and make use of our resources as functionally as possible. And for that one, interestingly enough, I got the 5 of Wands. Okay, so we got wands for both of these. It's definitely a week for action. That's harkening back, I think, for that to that full moon in Aries. Okay. Wands, fire, the sun being opposite the moon in Aries, it's all a very fiery signature. So it's a time of activity. And you know that Venus opposite Saturn, oppositions bring conflict. So this is a card you can see about conflict. People are sort of fighting it out. They're struggling it. They've brought their big sticks to the party, and it's a little bit of a fracas. So, one thing I want to say is yes, it can be a struggle, especially when we know what we desire and it's not in alignment with what's practical. It can be a personal struggle. It can be a struggle when we know what the people around us desire and it's not what's practical and we have to make a different decision than what people would like us to make. That's never very fun. It can be an internal struggle and it can be a struggle between people as well. Okay. So understand that, gird your loins a little bit. Okay. Remember, we want to do our best to have a calm state of emotional equanimity. And on Saturday, the moon does go into Cancer. So we can sort of like retreat into our own shells, retreat into our homes. If we find things to be a little too conflicted out in the world, we can stop, pull back, and do some self-care. Okay. It's okay to do that. That might be the thing that is the most practical thing to do. Right. So, a fiery start to this week. Aries, full moon in Aries. Woo! All of my fire signs, but especially like I had to check on my Aries moon friends and clients this week because definitely that Aries full moon will bring out the passion. And if the passion comes out, as it does for a lot of us fire signs, tends to come out as anger or irritation or impatience, then there's some of that on the menu for this week. And I'm sorry to say it, but it does happen. Um, but what we have here is a reminder to be focused on your goals. This thing is reversed. Okay, to be is a reminder to be focused on your goals. All right. Let's maintain like a calm, try to maintain like a calm and focused, measured, strategic attitude toward getting toward your goals. Okay. And that might mean retreating from any conflict or fracas that is coming up for you this week. And uh, doing what you can. All right, friends. Thank you so much for joining me for Astro Insights Live on Sunday morning. I am here every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Often my wife Jennifer joins me so that we can read the cards together and talk about the astrology together. Today she wasn't feeling it, so here I am. You got me. And I love you for being here. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for being checking in on your regular current astrology. Thank you for being a person who is curious and who wants to know, and who would like to be able to take that information and use it to help navigate your own life a lot better. Remember, we have some very good fortune vibrations this weekend, and then we also have a little bit of conflicted vibrations this weekend. So let's just work in the direction of what we think is really positive, and sort of disregard the trifling. Right? Okay. Friends, thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you on Thursday night for the Tarot Showdown in the next video.